This is Beyond the Margins, where we go deeper into story, creativity, and the courage it takes to speak your truth. Join host Jen Chambers each week for writing inspiration, conversations with creative minds, the yearly 12-week Artist Sway series, or the Write Your Story series, all designed to help you find, shape, and share your voice. Because your story doesn't end on the page, it begins beyond the margins.
Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Margins. I'm your host, Jen Chambers. You may have, if you're in my little corner of the internet, heard all about the stuff where everyone's talking about going back to things that are analog for 2026 and beyond. Doing less virtually. Now, I get it, super ironic that I'm talking about this, since I'm literally recording on a computer and speaking to you through a digital interface. But there's necessary limits, I think, and it's all about whatever you want anyway. I thought that it would be interesting to share with you the things I do that are analog or granny core or goblin core, old-fashioned, basic, whatever you want to call it, and see if there's some that you like. I've talked about these things a little bit. I'll share links to the things I'm talking about on my Instagram at J_B_Chambers. If you want to play along. These are the things that make me happy. We need some of that right now. And we don't gatekeep any kind of happiness over here. I was also inspired to talk about this because I was reading an article in Psychology Today. The article is called Analog Hobbies, a New Self-Care Trend. And it started by saying this. According to a recent CNN article, searches for analog hobbies on the arts and crafts store Michael's website have increased by 136% in the last 6 months, according to the company. Searches for yarn kits, sometimes categorized as a grandma hobby, increased 12,000% in 2025. Michael's chief of merchandising calls it a really big cultural shift. That's quote unquote. And I'll link the source to that. So, the thing that made me feel great when I read this was that it's not just me. It's kind of like my hobbies and habits. It's time for them to shine. And it's a good time of year to get into the good old grandma hobbies. I mean, I'm not a grandma, and my grandma's had other hobbies. One of my grandmas was a fine art painter, and God, she was amazing. I have about, 5 or 10 of her portraits. Beautiful, beautiful, all different kinds. A lot of them are about the Oregon coast, and they're just stunning. My other grandma did really weird and specific kind of art. She decorated eggs, like Fabergé style decorated eggs on pedestals. She loved it. I don't know where it came from, but she was very, very into it. But it was, something that made her happy. So who am I? And my mom is good at a ton of analog type habits. I've taught myself a ton of them as well. And all of these little tiny happiness things make my life so much richer. But I'm not a grandma. I have no prospect to be one soon, at least as far as I know. And I prefer to think of these, because it feels like when you call them grandma core or anything like that, like it's sort of disparaging. But I prefer to think of these as Hobbit habits. I love Hobbits. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please do yourself a favor and read or watch The Lord of the Rings. Fantastic. Hobbits are the best part of those movies and books. They're cozy little creatures, and they live in just warm little homes that are carved out of the hills, lots of fireplaces and coziness and textiles and flowers and candles and music and yummy food and community. Those are all things that I want more of in my life. So that's why I call them Hobbit habits. So why go analog? This idea, of course, is completely up to you. I'm only suggesting this as a thing that works for me. It's an interesting concept, though, and it really goes by the whole idea that I've been living by as long as I can remember. I have to choose how I spend my time. It's an exchange. It matters, right? And whatever you choose is absolutely valid. But gosh, I wish I had more lifetimes. I just want to learn everything that I want to learn. I want to learn all the instruments. I want to learn how to be a painter. I want to learn, I don't know, I want to learn everything. So this is kind of a fun way and a fun season to get myself into doing things that I've wanted to do. And one way, or one why, I suppose, is to learn more fun stuff. One way to do this is to have physical media in your space that doesn't rely on technology. That's another piece of this too, right? It's just a little bit less reliance on Big Brother and, the interwebs and all that. So why not pick up reading again? You don't need a huge library. Go to a used bookstore and grab 5 or 10 used books that kind of trip your trigger and that you might love. You don't have to finish them. That's another really great thing. You can choose something as long as it works for you. And you can have these books around. It's okay. Let yourself get bored. And then you can do these fun things. You can go to your local thrift store and you could buy physical copies of the shows and movies that you love too. And then you have them no matter what. They'll never go off streaming. Nobody can take them away from you. There's kind of a warm color, particularly if you buy a DVD player or a VCR. We have both of those things, and it's really fun. It's really fun. It's also fun to go on the search for your old favorites. I have, and my kids have helped too. I really like Scooby-Doo, so we have a lot of those. Not all of them, but a lot of them on DVD and on VCR. That way I can watch The Witch's Ghost anytime I feel like I need a pick-me-up. But whatever you like. And also think about buying CDs or records instead of digital music for the same reasons, right? And these can be very inexpensive. My favorite local thrift store, which is called St. Vincent de Paul's here in Oregon, I think they sell videotapes for $1, or they have had. I mean, that's about as cheap as you could possibly get. You could watch it once, and it's no big deal. You could give it back to them, and they could resell it. Another thing we have is all the old Disney movies that my kids loved to watch once in a while. And we all love records. I know records can be expensive, and this isn't necessarily to be cheaper. It's just options, right? And it's really nice to have physical copies. I love the sound of records. Speaking of warmth, oh my gosh. Records, they sound so full and rich. And everybody in our family loves records. It's funny. We have, there's one record player for my husband and I, and then all 3 of my kids have their own too. It's just really fun. And it's fun to go on the search for things. And if you're able to buy them new, a lot of different musicians are doing physical media. You can buy tapes and records at shows and at record stores, and they get more of a percentage. So you're supporting the artists a whole lot more that way. It's just fun. Now, how can you start finding the stuff that you want to do? Make a list of the habits that you do that are mostly online or on other visual platforms, things that are passive habits. And then maybe find ways to do them differently or less. You could also make a list of the creative or fun things that you want to try instead. The idea here is, for me, it's habit switching, right? You're substituting the new things for the old in the time that you generally did the old thing. So, for instance, my family they love to watch sports. I'm not huge. Sometimes I like sports, not always. So I still get to spend time with my family, but I'm doing some kind of fiber arts usually at the same time. And then I'm happy and I'm spending time with my family, sometimes peripherally, but we're all at least together, and that works for me. You could do anything you want, but habit switch. And you could also habit stack and give yourself, say an extra 10 minutes at the end of your workday to go and take a walk and look at flowers that you might want to plant. Something like that. They're just different ideas to build more Hobbit habits, some more fun into your life. One way is also to set the creative time or inspirational time aside. Schedule this additional time for these new things, these new habits or things you want to do in your week. If you're trying to learn to play an instrument, which is an amazing thing and I love it, give yourself an additional 20 minutes. If you do it 1 day a week, do it 2 days a week. If it's maybe you want to write more in a journal, get up an hour earlier and use that time. Or if that doesn't work, you find different ways to do the creative thing. It doesn't mean you have to issue every kind of digital media. You could dictate while you're on a walk. You could, I don't know, I really like the physical act of writing. I find it really cathartic to like the hand on paper or even typing. It just seems cathartic. And that kind of brings me to my other point, which is another really great way to do things that are more Hobbit core, analog, is doing more physical things. I have always wanted to learn how to do woodworking. I don't know if this is my year for that, but it's out there. That's one of the things on my list. Working with my hands in a different way. My daughter actually does welding, and she's so good at it. And it's just a really different way to do things with your hands and be useful and make things that are beautiful and creative. I love the idea of all the different possibilities. And when you do things physically, obviously physical activity is well known. And part of that, doing anything physical and also things that are creative, is bringing down the cortisol levels in your body. When you're doing things that necessarily take a little bit more time, the mindfulness can make your body slow down and your brain slow down. And then your mind relaxes and your cortisol goes down and your life is happier. You create more room. Even if it's a tiny incremental, little bit. And talking about hobbits, they had I can't believe I'm talking about hobbits. They had an agrarian lifestyle, right? So they did all sorts of gardening and things like that. Physical activity was important in their lives. And I can definitely tell you the correlation between the times that I'm outside in any meaningful way make my life immeasurably better. It makes me feel better. And all of this is to say, do things, anything for you that makes your life less doom scrolly and awful. Small things are okay. We're all in this shared hellscape in this world. F ice, by the way. And we deserve to do things that make us feel better, even if it's a tiny, tiny little bit. So I thought I would share a long, but not super exhaustive list of my Hobbit habits that you can start. I have spoken about these a little bit, but I thought I would give you a list. The first is fiber arts like crochet or knitting. This is the OG. Think about like a group of women knitting together on the Isle of Wight, or you're in the north of Scotland, something like that. That's what I think of when I think of knitting, or in Ireland. Doing it in a group, too, is bonus points because you get community. But it's also great to do by yourself. I started knitting. My best friend and I took a knitting class a long time ago to learn how to knit. And it was funny. I did learn to knit, but apparently I learned backwards, or continental knitting. I don't know. It's never stopped me. I don't know. Maybe it's left-handed. But and I like knitting. I've done it for a long time. But I've done, a million different kinds. Maybe one sweater. Mostly I'm a scarves and hats kind of girl. But lately I taught myself to crochet. And I love it even more than knitting. It's so much easier. I don't know. I feel like it's less mathy. There's still math, but it's easier. There's a million YouTube tutorials on how to start knitting. I recommend by learning how to crochet a granny square to begin. I'm actually knitting myself a sweater out of granny squares right now. The second thing, it's kind of different but fun, and old school too, is to make zines. I make zines. I think it's really fun. I use them instead of business cards at my events, my book events, because I hate business cards. I never keep them. I'm more likely to keep something if it's fun. And so I thought, I remember the 90s and making zines and having zines. And so I make them for my business and just for fun. You can make one, and I'm going to explain it verbally, but I will definitely link to a online tutorial because some people are visual learners, and I get that. So you make a zine by taking a sheet of plain, like, white printer paper, folding it in half, hot dog style, and then hamburger style. So fold it twice. And then unfold it, and then take each half of the hamburger so it's flat, but it's creased in the middle, horizontally and vertically, if that makes sense. Now take the edges, the top and the bottom of the paper, and fold them in towards the center, and then crease. So then you have a grid. So now fold it hamburger style again, and cut in the middle from the fold line to the end of the first grid. Now you can unfold it, and then you can fold it into a magazine shape. Like I say, it's a little bit easier to explain visually. I'll show a link on my Instagram, which is again at j_b_chambers. And then when you have your shape all cut out and ready, you can draw on each panel. You can collage. You can use stickers. You can write a story, whatever you want. I do one that's inspired by each of my books. So I have sites that are mentioned in them, and like a QR code that links to a road trip map so people can visit them. I just think that's a little bit more fun than like, here's my digits and website and all that stuff. I don't know. People seem to like it, and I like it, and it's fun. So that's the important thing. The third thing is, and I'm very biased at this, but learn some kind of music. Go to YouTube University. You can find everything there. And I also recommend, even more highly, of course, is music lessons in person. Anything you want. You could probably find some kind of music professionals recommended on like the bulletin board of your local coffee shop, or ask at a music store or university near you. I don't necessarily recommend Craigslist. If you know me, I have another podcast called Same Crime, Different Time. And if you're familiar with crime, there's a whole lot of crime with Craigslist. So I don't necessarily recommend that. But find somebody legit. And learn any instrument you want. Learn to sing. Learn music production. Play drums. Music, it's a unique language, and studies show that it literally helps you regrow pathways in your brain, and it helps strengthen. And as you get older, I mean, more music, the better. So, off my soapbox. But I think music is a really great one to learn. And then the fourth one is learning any kind of art. One fun thing is to go to an art store with like $20 and buy paper and then whatever kind of pencils or pens or markers or pastels or paints that call to you, and play with it. Or learn how to carve your own stamps, or learn how to do that and then lithograph prints on t-shirts. I mean, there's so many things you could do. The fifth is learning how to sew. I firmly believe that everyone should be able to at least replace a button or hand sew a hem. Or you could learn to make anything you want. I've made so many things, and it's really, really fun. There are so many ways to be creative with fabric. One of the things that I have a long-standing project that I haven't finished, maybe this is the year for that. I have been a volunteer at the Oregon Country Fair for 25 years or so, or maybe more. And you get a staff t-shirt every year that identifies you when you're at the fair. And then you keep it, right? So I have so many t-shirts, and I was making a quilt out of all of these cool t-shirts. It's not rocket science, but it's really fun, and it's going to be so great when it's finally done. You could also learn to mend your current clothes, which I think is really important too, to keep things out of the landfill as long as you can. Or you can also adjust your clothes if you buy things that are new or used. So learning to tailor your own things to your measurements is a great skill to learn. And it's not hard. It just takes a little bit. And I mentioned this briefly earlier, but gardening is incredibly life-giving. Even if you're sprouting seeds in a recycled egg carton on your windowsill, You don't have to have a giant yard. You could grow salad greens on a bowl of dirt on your kitchen table. You could start your own sprouts in a mason jar. We do that a lot, and it's really good. But you do have to watch out for this habit because it expands exponentially. Before you know it, you'll have little plants and things transplanted all over your house. But on the flip side, that has the benefit of cleaning your indoor air, so there's nothing bad about that habit. The last one, and of course, this is just a small list, but the last one is learning to cook something. I talk about cooking often in my newsletters just because I think it's a very good, cozy thing to do, and nourishing yourself is so important. But you can start small. Cooking from a box counts. Start by baking your own bread if you want. It's really, really easy. And then go from there. There you have it. This is my short list of Hobbit habits. What ones do you do? What ones will you try? Do you like the idea of starting to go a little bit more analog? Nobody says you have to stop playing video games because I can't do that either. But it's okay. It's okay to do things that are a little less. And then you're focusing on things that add to your life rather than things that take away. Let me know if you decide to do anything. Thank you so much for listening today. I've got some interviews lined up and more interesting things to report on in the future, including an exploration of the chronic part of chronic illness. I think it's a really important topic. But today, off to more Hobbit habits. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you next week.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Our stories are